Kraven the Hunter. This is the last superhero film of the year. This is a public service announcement to Sony thinking about making a Spider-Man movie without Spider-Man. Stop. Get some help. Hey everyone, Jedi Mike here, and I'm back with another video. Today I'm going to be going over the new film, Kraven the Hunter, new film in Sony's Marvel universe, focusing on solo villains and having their solo origin films and stuff. Continuation from Venom, continuation from Morbius, Madam Web, and now with Kraven the Hunter. And I'm going to just tell you right now, this movie sucks. And I don't know who's making these decisions, such as Avi Arad or Amy Pascal, but I gotta say, I was very, very disappointed with this film. This film is better than Madam Web. It's better than Morbius. It's actually my second favorite film out of this entire Sony Marvel universe of films in terms of their solo villain stories, and particularly with Venom. The first Venom, and then second will be Kraven the Hunter. Because one, I actually do think Aaron Taylor Johnson did an amazing job with this role. Again, I thought it was very charismatic, very intimidating in scenes as well. But I think that it was a missed opportunity, not because of any of his lackluster of a performer or any of the cast members. To be in fact, I actually think that the main foundation of this is the writing and the screenplay, the directing. This film honestly felt like it was basically destroyed in the editing bay, because one, there are scenes in this movie that were in the trailers that are not in this movie at all. Also, the rated R element of this film definitely does not deliver in ways that they were selling it to you, honestly, because there was a missed opportunity for them going down this route with rated R, with the violence, with the action and everything, which is what, even though as a person who was aware of the previous Sony Marvel movies, I'm thinking, okay, well, at least if I just get good action scenes and some basic of a plot, lackluster, not really that mediocre, then I'm gonna have a good time, right? And I don't think that's asking too much. But for this film, it is, because apparently there were scenes that were definitely cut out of this film, definitely reshot, and as well as this film had terrible ADR. Which one thing they actually took from Madam Web is the horrible ADR in this movie, because there's scenes you're clearly looking at some of these actors and looking like, oh my gosh, like that scene this is ADR. It's like, how like, it's just possible that someone's allowing this to be the final cut for a theatrical release. And now I also want to say you get other actors in this film too, such as Ariana DeBose, who is a fantastic actress, and by the way, Academy Award winning actress, right? She plays Calypso. Well, you got Fred Hitchinger. I hope I'm not pronouncing that name right. He played Dimitri, which, again, if you know who the character is from the comics, you know who he is. Again, this is a non-spoiler review, but he's also in Gladiator 2 this year. You also have Alexandro Nivola, who plays the Rhino in this film, and again, you also have Russell Crowe as well, playing the father of Kraven the Hunter. And I will say that none of these actors, I feel, gave bad performances. I thought the big thing again was the plot, as I mentioned previously before, that they have a concept where they want to focus on this complex relationship between Kraven and his father, who was a ruthless man, who's a hunter and everything, and taking these kids, both his Kraven and his brother, on this path of vengeance and everything, which causing Kraven to go onto his own path and stuff like that, which leaves a trail of bodies and everything. But an incident happens when he's a child, and then up becoming an entity or a being that's enhanced, I should say, which you'll see in the trailers. But again, I thought that in terms of the action of this film was definitely very choreographed very well. It was interesting. I think it was entertaining in those moments. But again, the way this film was structured, and again, I keep going back to the editing of this movie, definitely, I think, suffered and killed. But this had to do with a lot of, I think, reshoots post the writers and actors strike and after. And so this was pre-actor. This happened pre-actor strike, and as well as post, in terms of pre and post of the actor and writer strike. Because again, I believe that this film definitely had two different versions where there were scenes that were cut out, I guess, that were more intended to be rated R, and other scenes that were kind of be more media light, I guess you can call it. but if you see this film, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Again, there are scenes in this movie that are cut out that were in the trailers that are not in this movie, in which they've done this before with Morbius. But going back to really with this movie again, as you see with the other supporting characters, again, they use some of these comic book references of these characters, especially one, and I'm not going to spoil who this person is, but played by Christopher Abbott. He's a fantastic actor, by the way, but he plays a Spider-Man villain who's also in this movie, and I won't tell you who it is, but it's not a well-known Spider-Man villain. But it was just kind of interesting where they have no ounce of setting up this character whatsoever. But the way he's performed, like he's giving his performance, make him way more interesting. Some of the other characters you have on screen, and I'm like, well, okay, what's his backstory? Like, how's he evolve into this plot? And you're not really giving him other than that he's just a hired henchman by the Rhino. Which also shout out to Alexandro Novello, because I think the Rhino in this movie was actually pretty good. Again, this is a more organic type of hybrid of like genetic Rhino compared to the one we got in Amazing Spider-Man 2. But and I will say, yeah, this is the best live action Rhino we've gotten, but that's not saying much. But yeah, I was disappointed with that, because again, there was interesting things like, hey, how is this Rhino gonna go against this Kraven the Hunter? Which also, talk about Kraven the Hunter. Let's talk about his abilities. One thing in this, if you're watching this movie, you definitely get a sense of scenes where it's definitely alluding to Spider-Man in terms of his physicality and the things that he's doing. The only thing this Kraven was missing was the fact that he couldn't swing across the city, because he was running fast, which you probably got that from being Quicksilver. Definitely climbing up walls, definitely have the Spider-Man poses and everything, jumping on cars and jumping across buildings, and stuff like that, but doing his parkour. But again, he's enhanced by attack that happened to him when he was a child. But yeah, I mentioned that some of these supporting characters, their backstory are really underdeveloped and honestly not that interesting, and also not written well. Again, it's the dialogue in this movie do not do these characters nor these performers any justice at all. I felt that with this film, you have talented actors in this, and the worst thing you can do is waste the potential of what they can bring in terms of those roles with a terrible screenplay, with a terrible foundation of writing. And I mean by that with the dialogue, because when the moments of having action scenes and actual moments of hunting and actually fighting, those things are interesting. But another missed opportunity that in this film, which will kind of conclude this review, is with Russell Crowe as the father of Kraven the Hunter. And what they do in this is that, yeah, there can be interesting ways where this mafia type, family, especially in like Russia, definitely be interesting in terms of the power dynamics when it comes to these the sons and being brothers, and then also living up to the father's expectations, all stuff. We've seen this storyline before, but executed in this fashion with these characters from the comics, right? And there was one scene at the end of the movie that there was a conversation between Fred and Aaron Taylor Johnson's character, Dimitri and Kraven, at the end of the movie, which was talking about the character of Kraven the Hunter. You have to understand, this is a Spider-Man villain, right? At the end of this movie, you do not see Kraven the Hunter ever trying to go hunt down to mere depths to kill Peter Parker's Spider-Man in New York City. You have no correlation there whatsoever. And with this, there's a scene conversation as brothers talking about, hey, that the actual bodies that you left behind, being this person you are as Kraven the Hunter, because they rush through these scenes where he's actually making these killings and everything, but there's no type of emotional weight of like, this is just second nature to him. Honestly, this is an instinct. Not actually does he actually feel he has big ramifications whatsoever of his actions, right? But that's also a character trait tied to his father, with Russell Crowe's character. And I felt that even though there was a moment of that, they were highlighting that in this film, they missed the opportunity throughout this film of highlighting that shift of like, hey, what's the emotional weight of you dropping these bodies to a point like you know what you're doing, you know that you are making these trails of bodies, but you don't care because you are an animal. This is a primal instinct that you can't control, and you're addicted to it. This is if you've seen the Spider-Man Insomniac games, Spider-Man 2, definitely he explained that he didn't give a damn about any of his family members in that movie, or I mean in the video game. It was all about him getting his final hunt, the best hunt he ever got in his life, right? And by any means necessary. And that is what the Kraven the Hunter character is in terms of his core. And this film, even though is definitely is portrayed beautifully by Aaron Taylor Johnson, again, I thought he did a good job in this role, but it failed because of writing behind it. And when certain moments and deaths happen in this movie, they're not earned. They're not earned at all. And I felt, again, it was just kind of just moving the plot along. But yeah, I'll give this film, in terms of letter rating, a C-. I'm not saying that this film doesn't have its good points as well that might be entertaining, because I was entertained at some points. But I also, for the comic book people out there are seeds that are planted in there. There's like, if they want to make a sequel to something, they could. But again, knowing Sony, knowing this company, and knowing what they do, basically dangling keys of Easter eggs to us like we're 2-year-olds, because some of us act like 2-year-olds. Yeah, do not get your hopes up. Do not get your expectations too high for this. This is just another Sony Marvel movie, another Spider-Man movie about Spider-Man, but actually one of the better ones. But even then, that's not saying much. But make sure you hit the subscribe button, comment, like, and share. If you've seen Kraven the Hunter, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. This film will be coming out in theaters in December 13th of 2024. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.